Some years back, I read a fable that has really touched me. It it so gripped my heart that I want to share it with you. Let me read it. In a far and distant land, there was a spring of pure water that had a miraculous healing properties. According to legend, everyone who drank of its water was instantly healed of disease. People from around the countryside and even from distant lands would travel to drink from the stream. So many people visited the water source that the townspeople began establishing businesses to support the multitude of visitors. Stores sold supplies and wares. Homes were built. People continued to move into the area. New sources of commerce emerged, and eventually an entire city was built. One day, a visitor came to this particular city looking for the healing stream. Unable to find it or even a sign pointing to its location, he approached a resident and asked, "Where is the healing stream I have heard so much about? How can I find it?" The resident was somewhat embarrassed. He looked down at the ground and paused for a moment before responding. "I don't even know," he replied. "In all our activity, our building and moving, we have somehow lost sight of the healing stream, Jesus Christ." In our diverse attempts to build a relationship with Christ, we have missed what being in a relationship with Him means. In my short time of living in this world and being a Christian, I have discovered that human beings are defined by their relationships more than anything else in this world. Relationship tells who we are. It tells us whose we are and what is expected of us. Our relationship defines where we have been. It defines where we are and where we are going. Throughout the Bible, it's easy to see a few selected people who are so clearly defined by their relationships. In Genesis 6, Noah was defined by who he wasn't. In 1 Samuel 15, David was defined by who he had replaced. In John 18, Peter was defined by who he was following. If we are honest with ourselves, we will see that relationships are how the world ultimately defines us. They say more about who we are than any biographical sketch or social profile we may seem to portray. We can't go anywhere without acknowledging who we are or whom we belong to. So, those ideas matter more than we like to admit. In the real world, the company we keep is one of the most important telling characteristics of who we truly are. The proverb says, "Friends with fool becomes a fool, and friends with the wise becomes wise." So, to that point, when all is said and done, the only relationship that defines who we genuinely are is it's a relationship, our relationship with Christ. Now, every relationship requires a form of definition, whether it's an acquaintance, a co-worker, a neighbor, a secret admirer, a fiance or a fiancée, a date, a spouse, a child, a parent, and on the list could go. Without definition, relationships can become confused or even derailed because of unmet expectations. So, where there are unmet expectations in a relationship, there will be certainly be a lack of fulfillment from the relationship. So, how a relationship is defined determines how you interact with each other, how you communicate, how you invest in the relationship, and how you respond to the other person. For instance, I have a very different relationship with my piano student than I do with my brother. I also have a different relationship with my brother than I do with my mom. I can go on and on because when expectations are known in these relationships, I am better able to understand my role and my response. So now the question is, how would you define your relationship with Christ? How do you view your role in the relationship respective to Him? Perhaps indeed, defining your relationship with Christ feels like it feels like a matter of overthinking and over analyzing. Isn't the fact that you have a relationship with Christ enough? Many people claim to have a relationship with Christ, and yet the role they envision Him playing in their lives is not a relation. It's not a role He offers to play. It is right that we define our relationship with Christ in the way He Himself defines it, and we can know when we are in the right relationship with Him. To this end is this short talks I will be giving this month. In the next part, I am going to show you what Jesus is not in our relationship with Him. See you in the next part next week.